Welcome back, everyone. Today, we continue on in our Intro to Reduce series, and we're going to be talking about Array.reduceRight. So, the prerequisites today are pretty much the same as always. You just need a basic understanding of JavaScript syntax, especially ES6, and hopefully you've been following along in the series or you have an understanding of reduce already. And that's it. Okay, so the biggest difference here is that the reduce right method will start at the end of the array that you're operating on, and then it will move backward. It's akin to calling array.reverse first and then array.reduce. So if you notice, we have two examples. The top example here is calling reverse and then reduce. And the bottom example is just calling reduce right, which will start at the very end of the array and move backward. Now these two are kind of functionally the same, but we can avoid iteration by just calling reduce right. And the reason is because remember, whenever we call reverse, we're going to iterate through the array. And then when we call reduce, we're going to iterate through the array again. So we're actually iterating twice. But with reduce right, we're not actually calling reverse, but we're starting at the end of the array. So in effect, it's pretty much the same. All right, so here's a use case you might actually run into. I doubt it, but maybe you would. So the central idea here is that we have an array of movies where they've been sorted so that the movies with an earlier release date come first. And we want to basically pluck the titles off of that. So on the left-hand side, notice that we're calling reverse first, and then we call map and we're plucking the titles off, and that gives us an array of titles. Now this is much better if you only have an array of a few movies, or the array isn't too big, right? You can just call reverse and then map, because remember, we're going to iterate twice. But on the right-hand side, notice we have this get movies function. Presumably this is going to hit a server or something, and you might get a ton of movies back. So suddenly calling reverse and then map, doesn't seem like a great idea. But that's fine. We can just call reduce right. And remember, this isn't internally reversing and then doing like your reducing function stuff, right? This is actually just going to start at the end of the array and will run your reducing function backwards. So another thing of note is that the index that you have access to in the reducing function starts at the end of the array as well, right? It kind of makes sense. If you're going to run reduce right and it's going to start at the number 4 in our example, well, the index of 4 is going to be 3. So if you notice below, if we console.log the current index in the reducing function, we would get 3, then 2, then 1, and then 0. And that's it. That's the whole video. Reduce right operates pretty much just like reduce. The big difference is, as we said, it will start at the end of the array and move backward. So the good news is, if you have the intuition for reduce, well, you now have the intuition for reduce right. And I will say, I don't actually find myself using reduce right that often. In fact, if I do, it's usually that same kind of use case that we talked about earlier, right? It's I have a decent amount of data and I need to do a reverse operation and then some mapping operation or something. But it's almost never the case that I reach for this. All right, so if you liked the video, leave me a comment below. And don't be afraid to hit the like and subscribe buttons, as well as the bell icon. In fact, just keep hitting buttons, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.